TikTok compilation that might wake you up and change your reality. Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
So let's start from the very beginning. You say it's a 90-year cover-up.
Just about, yeah.
90 years?
1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle.
There's a spiritual component there that I don't fully understand. So yes, that story bothers me. And I think, last thing I'll say, that one of the reasons that we've had all these disclosures and all of these, 10 whistleblowers at this point, and it hasn't really become front page news. Part of it's suppression. Parts of the government don't want you to know about it, but part of it is the public can't deal with it. It's too far out.
The Italian government moved it to a secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until 1944, 1945, and the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
What is a demon? Right? I think most people would submit to you that a demon is some sort of supernatural being that is based in some sort of religious doctrine and is usually, malevolent to some degree.
Truth is never hidden. The deception begins, folks. Demons are not aliens. If you know, you know. Ancient Egyptian artifact. What do you think that is? Anyone have any idea? Please leave a comment.
In Australia last week, there was a major data breach, which is
Why is
not
this
funny, and you don't laugh.
Why are you
to see
laughing
that.
at people's data being breached?
No. So that part's obviously not funny. On the TV,
Oh, hang on.
on the
It took me a while to get...
on the TV, they're talking about it's major data breach.
That's... It says, in the bit where I'd normally say their name, or the title, it says major data breach, and the lady is like a general from the army.
So it looks like her name is Major Data Breach. I'm Lieutenant Data Breach. Well, I'm Major Data Breach.
Major data breach reporting for duty, sir.
UK government, and this is 100% serious, has just warned the British public to stock up on emergency supplies, including 3 days of tinned food, bottled water, and batteries. I mean, I just barely made it through the tap water taking me out. And now this? The advice comes from the UK's Deputy Prime Minister, and they say it's part of a push to get the public more prepared for potential emergencies, including biosecurity crises, flooding, cyber attack, power outages, or even another pandemic. Now, they want to stress that this is not to cause fear. They're not saying this because they low-key know something that you don't. And most of all, they do not want it to trigger panic buying. But rather, given the current state of the world and its growing threats, they are just thinking ahead, and they want to push for a more resilient and prepared United Kingdom. So yeah, this is the full list of their recommended emergency kit. Have fun.
Y'all look up the World Economic Forum yet? They'll tell you exactly what's coming.
If you come to Indonesia, make sure you go to other places other than Bali, because places like this exist. We're the only two on the entire island. Put Peter on your radar.
Search Labuan Bajo near Komodo Island is so beautiful. Blue ocean, pearl sand, exotic fishes, sharks, but they are harmless. They're more scared of you. There's only one of them besides Bali. There are literally many of destinations.
Taking the jungle taxi home so we don't have to walk back after the 4-day hike. They've made this fucking Mickey Mouse jungle taxi for us. The taxi's safe.
Yeah.
No helmets.
Because we have airbag everywhere.
Airbags. VIP treatment. We got the bed. Edwin's hooking up all of our stuff in there. Put it into the plastic bag so it doesn't get wet. It's time. Bye, love you. See the moon, see the bird, see orangutan. Hopefully we don't die. Yeah. Come on, Cap. Bro, this is not secure. Attaboy, Cap. Edwin's on fire. Your defense is terrified. Can we just appreciate the views right now? So nice. It's just the most vibiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Hello! Beautiful! Beautiful! Hello! Hello! We got little guys. Come!
This is not safe at all, folks, but it's so much fun. Indonesia, everybody.
Not just tell y'all that there was something going on with the ocean and that the whales was trying to tell us something. Listen.
Approaching the Mahia coastline. This local watching from the top of the hill. We thought, this is odd, this isn't normal. Fascination quickly turning to concern.
You're gonna get beached, mate. Oh my God.
The 45-odd false killer whales and one bottlenose dolphin first stranded before 2 p.m. yesterday at the rocky beach in Taylors Bay.
They were screaming. It is probably the thing that's stopping me from sleeping because you can hear this screaming in your ears. They were making more than a noise. They were really yelling out for help.
I told you.
Strandings aren't uncommon for this species. It's extremely rare. With the tragic events that unfolded, there's got to be something in the haystack to look for that is a bit of positivity, and we hope to learn a lot more. Like why these creatures stranded in the first place.
I put up the video about the whales in the ocean, and I told you I was trying to tell us something. In the last other video I dropped about the ocean, I told y'all. Oh my God!
Something bigger has woken up, folks. What do you think?
This is a bit scary. So you know NASA, right? Everyone knows NASA. So they started exploring the ocean in 1958, right? 1958. They started exploring the ocean. Guess what? They stopped exploring in 1958 too. They must have found something like scary that stopped them from continuing. They instantly started looking into space and tried to find a way to get off this planet. I mean, is it really a coincidence that the quote-unquote moon landing was just a decade after? And you know that they also, allegedly detonated a huge bomb in the ocean in 2021. And you know that we've only, explored 5%. We've only explored 5% of our oceans. Isn't that crazy? It makes you wonder, what on earth did they find that they were so afraid of? Could it have been, a megalodon, a kraken, even a cetus? Or some theories even say, it could be a Leviathan or Charybdis.
I heard the British Royal Navy have recounted a strange phenomena many years ago.
Friends, it is my opinion that the Antarctic anomaly frequency is heating the Atlantic Ocean and will make hurricane season a lot worse. Check this out. And of course, this is only a theory. All right, my friends, welcome back. We're on Vent to Sky, and look what's back. It is May 23rd, 2024, and we have the beginning of the Antarctic anomaly once again. This one goes for a few days before they remove it. They will remove this. They always do. I'll skip to the days real quick just so you can see how far this frequency goes, because that's what this is. This is a frequency technology coming from Bovet Island, and you can see this spreading all the way up to the northern Atlantic, and I'm going to explain why we see this again. As you can see, the data here ends on the 29th. They will remove all data except for the data that initially took place, which will be right about here at 11 a.m. on Thursday. So you'll see this, and you'll see the rest of today, and then they will gradually remove this data. Now, I want you to think about something. The insane amount of heat we've been having in the Gulf and the southeastern states. But my friends, what we are seeing here with this heating of the Atlantic Ocean, we are 3 months ahead of schedule. As you can see on this chart, this is where we should be in the month of August as far as the temperature. In this section of the ocean, the exact path where our hurricanes come from the west coast of Africa, sweep down through the Cape Verde Islands, and then into the Caribbean. This is going to be a serious situation for the Caribbean, as I said, and also the Gulf. We're going to be dealing with Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, all these areas, including the Gulf of Mexico and Eastern Florida. That is why, in my opinion, of course, this is my theory about this situation, we are seeing this Antarctic anomaly because this is a type of frequency weapon. This program has no other way of determining this type of data, so it only puts it out in a wave format. That's why it's not showing up in any other setting, and sometimes we get this on windy and sometimes we don't. But this, my friends, is the program trying to analyze this data, and the only way it knows how to is to put it in this form, so we're seeing an energy pulse. That's why we had the insane weather all over Africa and then Brazil shortly after and during these anomalies. There's no denying that that weather lined up exactly with every time this anomaly popped up. You can see that here in this image. Every time the anomaly popped up on 4/9, we had insane weather in Cape Town, South Africa. It was then followed by insane weather in Kenya, and then Oman, and then Brazil, as we just discussed. So keep an eye out for significant weather in these areas or the continuing of significant weather. My friends, this is a very significant thing that's taking place down by Antarctica, whether it's the island we've been speaking of, the Weir Antenna Array up to the northwest of the island, or the Antarctic coast itself. Regardless, this is a frequency. There's nothing physical about this situation or wave. There's no waves being read because that's not what's actually here. It's only being read as waves because this program has no other way of analyzing this type of info and putting it out to us. So this is the extent that we get the anomaly this time, going all the way up into the North Atlantic Ocean. This is unbelievable, my friends. I'll keep up on this as always. Take care. Bye-bye.
Weather manipulation to assist in the creation of smart cities in affected areas. You know, just a theory, folks. And it seems that the tornadoes everywhere started when this showed up.
Yep, that bird just started a wildfire, and it was no accident. Meet the black kite, also known as the firehawk. It's a medium-sized bird of prey that hunts on things like insects, small mammals, rodents, amphibians, and other birds. But some of them have figured out a more efficient way to hunt using fire. What they do is they'll go find a stick that's on fire, whether they take it from a wildfire or a human, and then they drop it on a really dry area. They know what they're doing. And they usually find a spot that's densely populated with their favorite foods. And as the fire begins to spread, they'll go sit at the highest point they can find. And they just sit and watch as all of the animals go running from the habitat, like some real supervillain stuff. At that point, every animal's in the open and they could pick whatever they want. They're actually the only creature outside of humans to utilize fire. Pyrotechnician birds, that's the last thing we need. Moral of the story, don't mess with a black kite. They bring a whole new definition to playing with fire. And as always, follow for more facts.
Firehawk? I like the ring to it. I thought it was pooping the fire, bro.
Can somebody enlighten me on what's going on here? In Walgreens, there are these coolers, and this is where our drinks used to, you know, we can just open it up and grab. Now it's kind of like all cartooned all the way down. So if you look here, then I'm looking here, and there's a sensor there and a sensor there. It says, wave your hand. Voice assistant coming soon. Okay, pretty soon these doors aren't going to be opening. Really thick, actually. But this is where the food is. So what do you think this means for us as people of the United States of America? What does it mean? Wave your hand? Look at that. Why would that be on a door just to get drinks? Just saying. And it's all the way down. Watch your money. Watch your hand. Because pretty soon they're going to make us chip it. That's all.
I think you can more easily pick out your product without holding the door open.
Canadians are paying 46% of their paycheck in federal taxes. I just want to break this down for you, Minister. I'm sure you know this, but people are writing to me and they don't even have an incentive to go to work or work overtime. So if you're making $100,000, which used to be so much money, people have never made more money and been less poor because we have the worst economic growth per person in the G7. This hasn't happened since the Great Depression. And you take on an extra $30,000 of overtime. I'm just going to put this into context for people. So if you go and you make $130,000 in overtime, you're going to pay $22,000 in federal tax. So now you've destroyed their purpose because you've demoralized them by hiring outside consultants, and you're taking away their incentive to go to work on their paycheck.
It's more than 46%. 46% is just off your paycheck. What about everything you buy for that week?
According to reports I found online, George Mubayed, who ran the account Hairzone 700, has recently been arrested for being a pedophile. There are a bunch of sources you can go to find this information online, but this is one of them. So according to these articles and these investigations, George was using his TikTok account to lure minors into his shop. And this was a ring. He was one of the heads of the ring. According to the reports, there were other members that were on TikTok that would actively work to get children into the shop. And they would all then participate in grapes against the children, which would be recorded, filmed, photos would be taken, and these photos would then be sold and posted on the dark web for other pedophiles to enjoy. Now, I did notice that the Hairzone 700 TikTok account is gone, which I thought was strange because it had 700,000 followers, so there has to be some truth to all of this. But they do have a Facebook page. I don't know if this is something new or what. And disturbingly, there are photos and videos that are being posted. This one was just posted 2 or 3 days ago, showing the accused man with a bunch of different children. Now, I don't know if these are re-uploads of content or what's going on with all of this, but these are really serious, staggering, disturbing accusations. And it does make sense. I mean, these videos are goofy, they're humorous, they're engineered to entertain children. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on this situation because if you go read the articles, it's especially disturbing. And yeah, I'm going to keep on top of this.
You gotta be so careful. People are just everywhere, and not everyone is as they seem.
News from the beverage industry. Canned water giant Liquid Death is now valued at $1.4 billion. The company has become the fastest growing brand in the beverage industry. Liquid Death recently closed $67 million in new financing from strategic partners and new investors, including top national distributors. The funding will go toward product innovation and scaling operations.
Who is buying this? I'm going to make a competing product. I call it Liquid Life.
Here's one fact about every country in the world. The United States has cheddar. Now you see, they don't have just a little bit of this cheddar. They have 1.2 billion pounds of cheese. Now you might be wondering the exact same question I thought when I first heard this. How did they end up with all this cheese? You see, back in the 1940s, when they sold milk, dairy products, the price would go up and down constantly depending on the season of whether the cow was making more milk or not. So these farmers would have to shut down business because they couldn't make enough money. So what did the government do? They bought all the milk. And when you buy something that expires about 2 months after it's produced, what do you do with it? You make something that doesn't expire. Something that you can put on a shelf and let it sit there for hundreds of years. Cheese. Now that we figured out why they have all this cheese, let's figure out how they're going to store all of it. You see, the United States Department of Agriculture has a huge presence in Kansas, Missouri. What's also in Kansas, Missouri? Caves. And you see, this worked out perfectly for them because caves are naturally climate controlled because they're underground. They have geothermal heat, keeping them at the right temperature for them to cool the cheese. You see, the government had so much cheese that they ran out of places to put it. They didn't have enough bunkers. They didn't have enough caves. They did not have anywhere to put all this cheese. So somebody suggested, let's go dump it in the ocean. Now, thankfully, the president at the time had cared about his public image. So he was like, let's not dump all the cheese in the ocean because we have starving people in our country. And yeah, that's basically the cheesiest fact I could come up with today.
Yes, I've been looking at these Chiefs caves for months.
Last night, I just had a scary, mind-blowing epiphany. Let me show you what I found. First off, this is Cancun, and all the ocean receded. The ocean receded away from the beach. Do you see this? So our oceans are acting really funny, right? I've been telling y'all we're about to have a crazy hurricane season. I didn't know why. You're about to understand just how crazy this is. This was the water temperature when we had Hurricane Katrina. I hope I'm not the only one that remembers Hurricane Katrina. That hurricane season, there was a record anomaly of heat in the water. You can see much of the waters were their record warmest, and all the water was really hot, right? It's only May, it's not even summer. Look at the record-breaking water temperatures right now. This was at the 14th of May. This is almost 10 times, I would argue 10 times as worse as what created Katrina. If you don't understand, you're going to see some crazy demolition like never before. I just had a feeling. I knew something was up. And also last night I had an epiphany on why. There's actually many variables. So for one, the sun, the heat from the sun, and the Schumann frequency, and the solar flares. That alone is playing a huge role in the weather and all these storms we're having because the energy of the earth is off the charts right now. Hence all the earthquakes and all the major crazy out of nowhere storms. And guess what? Anomalies. This is what popped in my head last night when I saw this. Not like there's already been record flooding all around the earth. Everything is adding together to create one massive superstorm. Do you remember that movie The Day After Tomorrow? And all those megastorms all mixing into one giant storm on the earth? I'm not saying it's going to be like that, and I could be wrong, but I definitely foresee 2 hurricanes mixing into one giant hurricane hitting our coast. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. This is what Oklahoma has to look forward to on this Sunday.
It's due to the microwave radiation emitted from Buffet Island. Check that out, folks.
A mental condition for people that find it really overwhelming to answer messages.
I am so glad she asked this. That video is asking if there's a name for the mental condition where you become so overwhelmed with text messages or emails and everything that you just can't answer any of them. And yes, there is an answer to this, which is that the way you're being asked to live right now is objectively insane. And when I say objectively, I mean that in the entire time this species has existed, no one was ever asked to be on call 24 hours a day to everyone who knew them. That has never happened before. Nothing in your brain has evolved to maintain that level of contact. Nothing in the culture has evolved to teach you how to deal with that level of contact. Kids, do you understand that even when I was in college, if you left the house to go to class, to go to school, to go out to eat, to go on vacation, you were totally cut off. If you were in the car, it was literally impossible for anyone to contact you. That means that well into my adulthood, it was understood that the only people who had to stay on call all the time, the people who had back then, it would be pagers or very primitive cell phones. They were very specific professionals who had extreme high pressure jobs. Go watch an old movie from the 80s. If they ever show a guy on a phone in his car, he has the type of job where he's always 1 minute away from having a heart attack. Like it's portrayed as being an objectively high stress, high pressure way to live, that no normal person would ever do that. When I was a teenager, the only way to contact a friend was to call their house and their parents would answer. And if they weren't home, you would have to leave a message with the parents, meaning the parents would just remember what you said and tell them when they got home. And it was routine for them to not get back to you, and it was no big deal unless you were calling about some kind of an emergency. So as recently as, say, 20 years ago, to be a friend who contacted someone and then demanded they instantly respond no matter where they were or what they were doing, that would have been considered pathological behavior. Like that was true for the entire time civilization has existed on planet Earth until a couple of decades ago. So yes, you find it stressful and overwhelming to try to maintain that level of contact. Everyone should. It's weird that some people don't.
This was so validating. Every day I'm consumed with guilt and shame over all the messages I haven't answered. A text is an invitation, not a summons, folks.
Y'all, the new Miss Universe Philippines is half black. Okay. And apparently she's making history because she's the first half black, half Filipino to win the title. Honestly, I'm just so happy to see this representation because you guys know that we got colorism worldwide, but especially in Asia. I'm like happily surprised that somebody of African descent was able to win. And obviously it is a rarity if it's the first in the whole history of the competition. This is my first time hearing about Chelsea, but I would definitely be tuning in and supporting anything in the future. I just can't imagine the hardships that one has to go through. I didn't even want to look to see if there was any controversy or whatever, because I just think that we should just celebrate this. I'm rooting for everybody black. No matter what the skin tone, this sort of representation is so positive because we are always dealing with people believing we don't belong in these spaces, believing we can't be the beauty standard. So I'm just really, really happy that this happened, and I hope she gets the support she deserves. Who knows, maybe some of the other Asian countries will follow suit and start giving opportunities to people who are half black. We're also starting to see half black idols being accepted in different music spaces in Asia as well. So hopefully this is a positive step forward.
She is so pretty. She literally looks Filipina too. All right, folks, the following clip is set, so disclaimer, okay?
What is it?
No, Dad.
Baby, you just gotta eat.
Bây giờ put right here.
Yes, you did so good. You say "
saying, look, there's going to be so many people that there are no jobs. Like, if you're a truck driver, you have 10 years. In 10 years, everything will be automated. There'll all be those giant electric trucks. They'll all be run by a computer. They'll never get in accidents, and they never get tired. And then you never have to worry about them doing meth and picking up hookers, going crazy, falling asleep at the wheel, and
come on.
driving into a fair.
That's what makes the best Cops episodes.
Automated trucks are gonna get robbed. What do you think?
You are all members of the same race, the human race, which started with black women between 300,000. Don't interrupt me, I don't have much time. Now, white folks, you don't like it, but all you are is faded blacks. Every one of you, if you trace your DNA back far enough, you're going to find that some of your DNA came from Africa. Because we all have the same ancestor back there, every single one of us. And those of you who think you don't have are obviously from outer space. Now, that means that every one of us is a 30th to 50th cousin to every other person in this room. Well, every person in this room who considers himself or herself a biracial person, stand. Don't you stand. Don't you stand. People, we have to get rid of the language of racism. I'm not a teacher. Teachers dispense facts and figures so that they can get their kids ready for the end of school testing. I've been called a trainer. You train dogs and horses and members of the military. I don't train people. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root duck deuce, which means lead, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. In this country, we spend a lot of money on what we call education. It isn't education, it's indoctrination. You are all members of the same.
Wisdom is speaking. God bless you, madam. Don't go anywhere because we still have fire clips after fire clips back to back.
From someone who used to work in a daycare, why are you having kids if you don't parent your kids? Some of these parents would come in and drop their kids off at 6 a.m. when we'd open and pick their kids up at 8 p.m. when we close. And their kid would call me their father because their mom and dad were so non-existent in their life. They'd call the teacher's mom because the parents just would take them home, they'd take a bath, and they'd go to bed. I'm not saying that daycare is bad. I'm just saying don't drop off your kid all day and do nothing with them and then ask us why aren't we open on the weekends because you want to drop your kid off 24/7. I feel like that's a little crazy. I feel like you should be able to parent your own children. It feels like you're treating your kid like a pet almost. Like you wanted them in that exact moment, but then things got difficult. You had to do your job. So you hand them an iPad, you drive them to daycare, and you tell them bye. And you have no idea how much this kid talks about you when you're gone. Your kid could literally be like, oh, my mom plays on her phone all day, but it's okay, I still love her. I've had conversations with like 4-year-olds like that before. It's crazy what they believe. And it's actually so sad that you leave them like that. Like, you have to parent your kids. You can't just drop them off at daycare 24/7.
Yep, they are just accessories for some people.
His mom is allegedly suing Diddy. She's alleging that Diddy took his V card. When Usher was 10 years old, his mother let Usher go live with Diddy. Apparently his voice was messed up and, you know, he was going through puberty. And so she sent Usher to Diddy saying that, you know, saying that Diddy was gonna, you know, like train his voice. But he did a lot more than that. So now the mother wants to speak out because she's saying that there was a situation that happened when Usher was, I want to say 15 years old. He ended up having to go to the hospital because he was bleeding from his rectum. Now, we all know what that means. Diddy was messing with that boy. But see, here's the thing. The mama didn't say anything back then. But now she's saying that Diddy basically messed Usher up. I believe that with Cassie filing her lawsuit, that's giving everyone the courage to come out and speak about what's happening, what has happened with Diddy. And I mean, Usher doesn't hide the fact that he was with Diddy and that things happened and that he saw some wild things. But, Usher even said that he's going to give Diddy a pass. So Usher has forgiven him. But his mother is saying no. And so she is wanting to file a lawsuit against Diddy. Now, what I want to know from you guys is, being that the mother sent him over there, and she said out her mouth that it was a business deal, because Diddy was giving her money. So you basically sold your son to Diddy, allegedly. And now, I mean, Usher's like 45 now. So here we are, a lot of years later, and you want to place a lawsuit for him taking his V card, when you really should have been saying something back then. But better yet, you really should have never sent your son there. And the mother did an interview saying that she did her research. She said that she did all of her research and that she looked up who Diddy was and things like that. But baby, you must have missed a lot of red flags. There was something that you didn't read. You must have skipped a few pages because, yeah. Do y'all feel like the mother is justified for coming out now? I mean, you really can't tell anyone how to deal with the situations that happen in their life when it comes down to trauma. But do y'all feel like she should have said something earlier? And do you think she's going to win the lawsuit? Let me know in the comments. I'll holler at y'all later.
This must be so humiliating for Usher.
My number one most powerful tool that you can do to protect your brain from aging and neurodegenerative disease states is start walking. Why do I start with that? Because everybody can walk. You don't need to buy any new fitness outfits. Just go out and walk more. And then they say, oh, well, do I have to become a marathon runner? That could help too. But everybody can walk. And from that study that I mentioned in the 65-year-olds, 30% reduction in the probability of getting Alzheimer's with just walking.
You said that if I go and start walking and I do exercise, my prefrontal cortex will grow, which is the decision-making center, right?
Yes.
So does that mean then that if I am somebody who is very sedentary, I don't do much physical activity, that my decision-making will be worse?
Yes, there is that potential. Brain plasticity and the neuroscience of brain plasticity tells us that absolutely with physical activity, you have great potential to improve the function of your prefrontal cortex. And I must specify a little bit, the main function that has been shown to be particularly sensitive to regular physical activity is shifting and focusing your attention. So being able to listen to me while you might be paying attention to the AV guy that might be telling you something right now. So to be able to do that effectively, that is one of the things that we know is helped with regular physical activity.
Focus and attention,
Yes.
that kind of thing.
There is a theory that we need a brain for movement. If we don't move, no brain needed. Let me know how you feel about this.
Spoke to my mum on the phone for 22 years, never met her. This particular day, he said, how's your mother doing, Joe? I said, she's not so good, Mike. She's had a lump removed from her neck and we're very concerned. Mike said, let's go and visit your mum, Joe. So me and Mike, we've landed in Dublin. Mike met my mum for the first time after speaking to her. She spoke to him and he embraced her. He put his arms around her and he held her. And this is a man that can break bones with punches, embracing a fragile woman. And it was beautiful to see. Anyway, they got talking about birthdays and he said, I remember on my 18th birthday, Mrs. Egan, you sent over a shoebox with some potato chips, some money in an envelope and some sweatshirts. And that was 22 years previous. And my mum said to Mike, you remember that, Mike? He said, yes, I remember it. He said, very few people have given me anything in my life. I broke down crying. And Mike looked at me and he goes, Joe, motherfucker, you're always crying. Looking at a man that could have been a billionaire athlete, remembering a couple of packets of crisps. I don't envy what he had to endure in his life.
Joe Egan is a class act. You never forget the people who showed you kindness when you had nothing.
The woman poured boiling hot water mixed with sugar on her husband while he slept. Come to find out, he SA'd her children and she found out. This woman's name is Corinna Smith, and she basically decided that her husband was going to pay the price for SAing her children. So while he was sleeping, she decided to go ahead and go to the pot, get some boiling water, mix it with some sugar, and pour it on him, causing him to be unalived.
Oh my God.
I want to know where we can send this woman some bail money, or where we can like sign a petition to get her free, because I don't see what the problem is here. She decided that her husband was not going to continue to live because he decided to violate her children. I'm trying to figure out where we can send some money for a lawyer.
Over $1,000 for bus on your shoes, bro. Like, what? I checked online. They're sold out. Who is buying this? Genuinely, I want to know. I want to have a conversation with someone who's bought this. How is this brand getting away with that? Genuinely, I don't understand. I want to sit down with the designer for this shoe. What was you trying to go for, brother? Like, that's what I want to know. I want to know what vision you had with that. Because what vision could end up like this, bro? Because you know what that looks like. You had to bring this design to a table of executives for the company. No one said that looks like bus, bro. Like, genuinely. I really hope the people who have bought this shoe finds this video. I have a question for you. Why? Genuinely, out of all the shoes you could get in the world, you would get this. And it's not like people aren't buying it because it's sold out. I swear to you, people see anything designer and jump on it, bro. I swear to you. If you have this, you're a muppet. I'm sorry. This right here is a social experiment. They're seeing how far they can go before people clock. What the do? And I know certain people are going to try to say, oh, this sort of designer is art. What is art about this, bro? They're just taking the absolute piss. This had to be an inside joke. It had to be an inside joke. And they're laughing at you buying it. They took this shoe to the back, went like that on it, and took it out and showcased it.
It looks like a large dog blubber all over it. They took Drippy to a whole new level.
Alright, so I finally figured out why white people be getting so mad and saying stuff like, "You're trying to turn us into the minority." Well, that's because in the first time in forever, the white population has taken a massive, massive decline while the non-white population has increased significantly. Just to clarify that a little more, in the 1970s, America was 90% white. In the 2010s, 72.4% white. That's a massive decline. But that was over 40 years. In 2020, the drop went down by about 10%, which is insane. And it's not because the overall population is increasing. They just lost white people. Now, the reason for this decrease isn't because of minorities. It is because of y'all. So a lot of white people like today are super, super old and like super, super rich. So you guys are losing a lot of them. But white women compared to their counterparts have very low fertility rates. So the birth rate is also declining. There's a theory that says this is why a lot of white politicians want to stop abortion, because they want their birth rate to go up. But I guess I shouldn't say all, because 60% of white people say that they're okay with this change. But I feel like that number should be 100%, right? Because what's wrong with being a minority? They don't get treated badly, right? It's all good. And if you think about it, 60% ain't that high when it comes to a question like this. And if you think about it, y'all are all racist because y'all are basically calling all minorities one whole minority. You know what I mean? You're never gonna technically be the minority. You're just combining every single race and just calling us all the minority. Man, y'all suck.
That last part got me.
Know about this guy. His name is Dick Pronicki. He was a guy who lived in Alaska by himself in a cabin that he built for decades. Moved out there when he was 50 years old. He got tired of the way everything was, the fast pace of modern life. This guy built his own house out there in Alaska, fashioned it out of logs, filmed everything.
Wow.
Filmed all of his interactions with animals. Birds would come and land on his hand and he would
Wow.
feed them. Oh yeah. He was you. He literally is you. Stoic, by himself, and wrote. And he would sit, and every night he would write. And he would write about his experiences and the deep satisfaction that he got off of living that kind of a life.
Right. You gotta know your shit. To be out there by yourself?
Well, I think most of it he learned once he got there, and he talked about it. He talked about what the experience was like.
That's
And,
amazing. And
dude,
what did you live on? Just deer meat? I mean,
yeah. Elk meat, deer meat, berries.
To me, the stuff that comes over radio these days is just out of tune with Twin Lakes country. You know, how does that sound? All the problems the world's got in a place like that? I didn't want to hear it. I just, boy, this is pretty nice here. Let's not spoil it.
Dude was a legend. They don't make them like that anymore, unfortunately.
China, if they want to catch you, there's a low pace to high. They have camera all over. You know, maybe you can see a camera in the store, but in China, it's all over, belong to the government. All the street pole, all the light pole, all the highway, they all over. They call it sky eye. You cannot rent anywhere.
So if you do something...
Even though you're from this state to another state, they will follow you. And their camera is different than this one, than United States. Even though you cover your face, their computer can track your movement, and then they match on the system. They know who you are.
Even with your face covered,
yeah,
they can tell who you are.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything. Is it safer there?
Yeah, they still got
There's ways.
Gang things going on, but they not exposed to the public.
Wow,
okay,
that's wild.
America can see you through the phone and know what you're thinking.
3 things that you need to know about why folk are not calling you, why they rejecting you, or they not inviting you. You gotta understand, it ain't you, so get out of your feelings. It's God. See, number 1, God said you his workmanship. He said he created you. He put you together. See, everybody don't know how to value you, so they not gonna know how to treat you. And some folk is intimidated by you. Number 2, he said not only did he craft you and create you, but he prepared some things for you. Everybody ain't part of your destiny. Everybody is not a part of what God is doing. So get over it. Oh, and number 3, he said he created you, crafted you, prepared some things for you to walk in. Everybody cannot walk with you. Some folks simply going in the wrong direction. And other folk, you walk with them too long, they gonna cause you to trip and miss out on what God has for you. It's your church, auntie. Follow me for more.
The rejection is for our protection.
Barbara, you are big on Celtic sea salt. You love Celtic sea salt. You take it regularly. Can you explain exactly the method? Is it something that you put in your water? Do you put it in your mouth first? How exactly can somebody take Celtic sea salt?
Okay, so let me explain it. And I got this information from a few sources, and one of the sources is Dr. Robert Thompson, who wrote the book, The Calcium Lie, and he believes the clearest indicator of a creator God is seawater, because seawater has 92 minerals, the exact same mineral and proportion and balance as is found in the body. And the closest to seawater is Celtic salt. Celtic salt has 82 minerals. And Dr. Robert Thompson says, if you put a little crystal of Celtic salt on your tongue before every glass of water, he says all you're doing is replacing the minerals you lost yesterday in your urine, in your perspiration, in your bowel movements. So how big is the crystal of Celtic salt? Probably about the size of a sesame seed. If someone's not used to salt, I think I'd advise even less than that to get their body used to it. Celtic salt is a very wet salt because it has 3 magnesiums, and magnesium is a water-hungry molecule. So when you put that crystal on your tongue and then drink your water, the mucous membranes in your mouth absorb those minerals, take it to the cell, you drink your water, and that water-hungry molecule, magnesium, actually pulls that water inside the cell. So it is far better to put it on your tongue and then drink it rather than put it in your water. Because of the 3 magnesiums in the water, it dissolves into the water, so you don't quite get the same effect.
So would you let the salt completely dissolve and then drink water?
Not necessarily. I usually put it in my mouth, have a bit of a crunch, then drink my water. By then, you know, some of the minerals have absorbed.
So would there be any benefit to cooking with Celtic sea salt?
I always cook with Celtic sea salt, but I never put my Celtic salt in till the end. Yes, it has 92 minerals, and cooking does not kill minerals. So you could put it halfway through, but it is my habit to put it in near the end.
Now you mentioned about seawater and having the minerals. What about kelp and seaweed and those types of things?
The kelp and the seaweed, I guess my concern is the state of the seas today. And we've got the Chernobyl and the Japanese disaster, especially, that happened near the seas, and there is so much waste dumped into the seas today. I'm hesitant with the seaweeds. And then the question is, well, what about the seawater? Well, with the seawater, those waves, the pounding of the waves is constantly purifying the water, and a lot of heavy metals and chemicals sink to the bottom of the sea, and that's where the seaweeds can take it up. That's also why I say to people that like fish, I say, be cautious of your crabs and your oysters and your prawns, because they're taking up that from the bottom of the sea.
Celtic sea salt has changed the game. I've been telling everyone who will listen about it.
I've been showing you this. The Bermuda Triangle is hiding a secret, and no, it's not what you think. Almost 3 times bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, there is a gigantic crystal pyramid under the surface of that region. Here is where it gets rather unsettling. This pyramid's material and behavior isn't like anything we find here on Earth. It creates powerful natural electromagnetic fields, which may explain the accounts of planes and ships vanishing. This is where things get scary. In recently uncovered documents from a government whistleblower, it said that researchers believe that this pyramid was built by an ancient, super-advanced civilization known as the Atlanteans. The document specifically mentioned that the Atlanteans had mastered interdimensional travel and built this pyramid as one of Earth's gateways to another realm. Due to the disappearance of the Atlanteans, it has since become unstable and has been the root cause of many mysterious disappearances. This explains why so many ships and planes have vanished without an explanation. It begs the question, where did these Atlanteans go, and what happened to their vast technology?
This is heavy. I think they use Alan Watts' AI voice.
New York is the biggest city in America is
Waterproof concrete. The biggest cities in America were originally Boston and Philadelphia, who both had busier ports than New York. But in 1810, the mayor of New York City had a crazy idea to dig a river by hand across the entire width of the state so they could reach all the goods in the Midwest that couldn't go over the mountains to the other port cities. Big dream, but in order to build it, you need a way to make massive amounts of waterproof concrete, which didn't exist yet. There was one way to make a small batch with volcanic ash, but not enough for 400 miles of canal path. If New York had just given up, it's very possible Philadelphia would be the biggest city in America, especially after the railroads were built. But one engineer spent a year figuring out how to make it from local limestone. And with this recipe, New York was able to build the Erie Canal, and after it opened, New York's share of national exports jumped from 10% to 60% in just a few years, while its population quadrupled.
I was always taught that the Hudson River was the important waterway connecting New York to the Midwest and Canada. Let me know what you think about this.
Woman who made herself blind on purpose? Nah. You know how you have dreams of being like a superhero? She had dreams to be blind. She wants to be Daredevil? I guess. Because she was born perfectly healthy. Yeah. Back that. And then around 21 years old, she was like, okay, I'm gonna just take this into my own hands. And while she was seeing a psychologist, she told her to pull like...
Oh yeah, that'll blind you.
Yeah, in your eyes. And she waited purposely. She didn't call right away. She was like, I'm gonna get blind first, then I'm gonna call to get help.
Oh, what the
They drained her, she became blind. Apparently that's a disease.
Body dysmorphia type thing?
No, it's like body
identity dysmorphia.
Yeah, something like
Probably
that. She learned Braille before she did it. So as soon as she blind, she knew how to read Braille already.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's weird.
It's super like messed up, but it's like, it's your life, I guess. Like,
yeah,
you
it is your
survive.
life.
Yeah.
That's the thing the Filipino parents always say. What's the word?
Yeah,
what's the phrase?
Bahala ka sa buhay mo. That's the number one thing.
It's your life.
Like, it's your life, go do it.
Damn.
But even though they say it, they know like you shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Giving up sight to gain insight.
Listen, when this blessing come in, because it's on its way, whether you want to believe it or not, I'm past that though. Thank you, Holy Spirit. When this blessing come in, the Holy Spirit wants you to be normal. I don't know why. They want you to be normal. Like, act how you was acting. Okay? Don't show up like you just got a major blessing. Don't show up like flashy. Don't do none of that. Literally act regular. Act normal. Okay? Act normal. Because God is saying act normal, because when you act normal, you're not going to trigger any enemies that you have. You have a lot of hidden enemies. I don't know who you are, but you have a lot of hidden enemies. So the Holy Spirit is saying act normal. When this blessing come in, don't start buying crazy stuff. Don't start overly looking nice. I hate to say it like that, but whoever this is for, you're in an environment that you don't want to do that right now. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to do that right now. So when this come in, just act normal. Act how you been acting before this blessing came in. Okay? That don't mean that you have to steal. If you have been like, just like not really taking care of yourself, always take care of yourself, whether you got a little bit or a lot. But the Holy Spirit is specifically telling me to tell someone, do not overly do nothing. Do not overly do nothing when it comes to your appearance. Do not give off the assumption that you have a lot going on. Like, make people think you really don't got nothing going on. It's nothing to see here. It's nothing to see here. Okay?
Amen. Be humble and move in silence. As long as I hear that vroot sound, it's legit to me.
Climbed Mount Everest 1953, they began to find something strange up near the top of Mount Everest. They began to find petrified clams in the closed position. Up in Peru, 2 miles above sea level, recently they found giant oysters 11.5 feet wide, weighing 600 pounds. Petrified oysters in the closed position. Fossil graveyards are found all over the world. I mean, there are thousands of these. Huge piles of things died, or got buried at least, in one place. There's a place in Africa called the Karoo Formation. Estimates are there are 800,000 million. That's 800 billion vertebrate animals buried in this one big formation across Africa. The Bible says in Genesis chapter 7, all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. And if you smoothed out the earth right now, if you just smoothed it out, push the mountains down, lift the oceans up, level everything out, There's enough water out there right now to cover the earth 1.5 miles deep, everywhere. People say, where'd all the water from the flood go? Oh, it's still here. It's gathered into big puddles called oceans.
Something really, really strange is happening in our oceans, and the wildlife is clearly reflecting that. Groups of whales have been coming together before beaching and unaliving themselves, and scientists have no clue why. This specific group was located near Australia, and the general assumption was that they may have just wandered too close to shore by accident. But the exact same thing happened near Taylor's Bay, and according to the locals who were trying to help, the whales and dolphins sounded like they were screaming for help. Check it out real quick.
First stranded before 2 p.m. yesterday at the rocky beach in Taylor's Bay.
They were screaming. It is probably the thing that's stopping me from sleeping, because you can hear this screaming in your ears. They were making more than a noise. They were really yelling out for help.
And even after the locals and rescue teams helped the whales back into the water, they re-beached themselves further down the coast, almost as if they refused to go deeper into the ocean. Over in the beach in Oregon, a female anglerfish washed up, which is really strange when you consider that they live 2,000 to 3,000 feet deep. And with the huge anomaly that we were initially told was a glitch coming back, people's speculation is starting to grow and theories are starting to circulate. I touched on the first theory that states that very large creatures, or a very large creature, possibly Leviathan, has entered our ocean's ecosystems, eating the wildlife and scaring them as well. But there's a second theory stating that some sort of frequency device is being used or tested, heating up the oceans and scaring the wildlife. Leave a like, let me know what you think.
They say the Leviathan makes the waters boil if it's within a certain range of you. I think this has everything to do with this. What do you think?
Most expensive watch that I currently own is $18 million. One watch? One watch. I have some of my watches, I have one, $2 million. I got a lot of $1 million watches, 1.2, but it's worth it. Yeah. It goes up in value. Yeah. It appreciates, not depreciate.
How do you buy a $17 million watch, though?
No, 18.
18, sorry. Goddamn. How do you do that, dude? Like, how long did it take you to make a decision and say, here's $18 million? That's a big house.
That watch costs more than some of my houses, actually. I think I got expensive taste. Yeah. I don't know why.
What does $18 million do other than to tell time?
Jesus said in Matthew 6, when you enter your secret room or your secret place of prayer, and he said, close or shut the door behind you. I was teaching them that door was beyond something physical. The door is actually something spiritual. Because if you are praying outdoor, if you are praying in nature, if you're praying at the mountain, if you're praying in your car, if you're praying on the street, what door are you shutting behind you? What door is there to close? But he was explaining, enter the secret place. When you enter, because you are a house of prayer, he said, close the door, and the door is a gate. And the Bible says, if your eye be single, then your whole body will be filled with light. Because the eye is a gate, is a doorway to the soul. It's a lamp unto the soul. So what he was saying was shut the door. He was saying shut the distraction. So he was saying close the door, shut the door, because your eyes, this is why we close our eyes. Because when we shut our physical eyes, our spiritual eyes open, because now we are close to the physical, which the physical at times can be a distraction. That's not to say that we are limited to praying where our eyes closed. You can pray with your eyes open, but most time we need to shut the gate, because your eyes are gates. Your eye is actually a portal, because a gate is where we draw the term puerta. Puerta becomes the word portal, and portal is an opening.
I'm blessed once again by these teachings. This is pure revelation, folks, and also learn how to pray in the spirit. That's so powerful.
The Celsius energy drink. Celsius energy drink has 4 times the amount of daily cyanide that a human being is meant to ingest. 4 times. That's just one sample. So drink Monster or Bang. I mean, drink Bang, not Monster or Celsius, right? Bang has methylcobalamin. This has cyanocobalamin. So, and we wonder what, we're putting these toxic chemicals. This is, where we get the hydrogen cyanide? Don't make me take you to that website, because you'll just get up and leave. Do you know where we would get hydrogen cyanide? Because these facilities that actually compound this B12, they don't even pay for the hydrogen cyanide. You know where they get it? Human sewage treatment plants. It is the waste from a human sewage treatment plant.
Wow.
It's called sludge. It's foamy yellow sludge. They scrape it off the top, they dry it, turn it into a powder, ship it to a facility, synthesize it with a metal, and put it in your vitamins. They take metal, hydrogen cyanide, and put it in our supplements. So that's exactly. So when you get home tonight, I want you to take all of your supplements and protein powders, spin them around, look for that word cyanocobalamin, and if it has it, throw it in the trash.
I'm beyond glad that I never got into drinking energy drinks. I don't need them, and neither do y'all.
Historical facts that sound fake but are 100% true. Before trees, the earth was covered in giant 20-foot tall mushrooms. Vincent van Gogh only sold one painting his entire life. It was the Red Vineyard, and he sold it for about $2,000 in today's money. In the 1920s, a big pastime for Americans was this sport called flagpole sitting. Essentially, people would get together, put up giant flagpoles, and then go to the top and just see how long they could stay. It was like a Mr. Beast challenge before Mr. Beast, which that would be a crazy video. Australia once lost their prime minister. It was 1967, Prime Minister Harold Holt went swimming and was never found. People in the Middle Ages often drank beer for breakfast. Now, this wasn't because they were trying to get messed up before blacksmithing. It was because clean water was very hard to get back then, and beer was already cooked. The first person to ever get a speeding ticket was only going 8 miles an hour. The posted speed limit was 2 miles an hour, so he was going 4 times the speed limit, to be fair.
Yep. I'm going to tell my friend who is scared of mushroom about this.
This is actually happening, and very soon hundreds of thousands of your favorite restaurants will be permanently closing, and there's nothing we can do. People were terrified after millions of people had allegedly been ruining Chipotle stores and protesting them to the point of Chipotle needing to throw out thousands of pounds of food, costing millions as people are walking out mid-order. Keith Lee recently got a horrifying Chipotle order saying he found only 4 small pieces of chicken in his bowl, and it cost him a whopping $12.
This was like $12, $13 only here. Actually like 4 pieces of chicken.
Many have alleged that since the boycott online, when customers order and pull out their phone, they tend to receive bigger sizes, and allegedly this is something upper management has asked them to do. Others have also documented in viral videos with Chipotle showing worm-like creatures infecting their food, and do not eat packets found in there too, which if ingested can cause serious fever, digestive issues, and other serious diseases. And if you even start to notice these conditions, you might already be in danger. Chipotle hasn't addressed these issues, and oftentimes what we see online isn't always correct.
I think customers have the power to demand better portion sizes at Chipotle.
Read English or listen to a podcast or listen to a YouTube video. Listen to something you enjoy. Every time you hear a new word, write it down in this notebook. But don't just write down the word. Write down the meaning of the word. Write down the pronunciation of the word. Write down synonyms. Write down antonyms. Write down all the information, example sentences, everything. Take those words and use them to write your essays, to practice your speaking. And what you're doing there is you're moving vocabulary from your passive vocabulary, words you know, to your active vocabulary, words you know how to use. And then your writing, your speaking will just skyrocket.
Yep, I do that. Sometimes it's stressing me out as I've garnered countless vocabulary already, but I can even utilize them every day. No one to talk with in English. English is my third language, by the way. All right, folks. I'm going to end our video with this coming clip. Be nice to each other. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And don't forget to like or dislike so I can make better content. If you want to buy me coffee or support me on Patreon, the link are in the description below. Thank you for watching. Peace and God bless.
Tavares, right in the butt?
What?
No. Blake.
This is the best.
Yeah, that's it.